So, I have been doing a lot of thinking lately and a lot of seeing lately. I have a lot going on in my 12th house. In astrology, we all have a 12th house. Our 12th house is where we go inwards, we become more private. Things become more aware to us than they were before. It's where we kind of seclude and get away and kind of isolate, even sometimes self-destruct. So I've been doing a lot of looking and a lot of thinking lately. And I think a big theme that is going on right now is we are all stuck in some kind of pain. Some of us are stuck in it and don't know how to fix it. Some of us are stuck in it and trying to act like we're not and trying to quote unquote rise above it and manifest positive things in our life, even though our lives are shit and we have not been strong enough to bear through the shit in our lives. Some of us are still in the vicious circle, and it's a pattern. It's a pattern of pain, and that's what we're going to talk about, because every time we go through pain in our lives, if you really sit back and think about it, which I'm going to allow you to do, you will see that there has been a pattern. For instance, it starts in your childhood. So if you think back to your childhood and think what was the first time that you really felt like you didn't belong. Sometimes you'll think of one thing and then you'll think of another and then you'll think of another, and it's like, whoa, all these times. Well, then you think, what do these times have in common with each other? The first time, I will tell you just from experience and just to get an example out there, the first time that comes to my head that's been coming up a lot in my life in many different ways, it still manifests itself because I have not done the work to truly heal it. The first time that comes up in my head is a school dance that I had that was absolutely horrific for me. From that point on, I was in 6th grade and I was labeled a whore because of the way that I danced. And ever since then, I refused to dance. And I've always cared what people thought about me since then. I put myself out there to the world, and the world rejected it. Therefore, I'm not good enough. Therefore, I suck. Therefore, I'm a whore. I can't dance. It all resorts back to what other people think. That ends up kind of becoming contagious to you, because then you start thinking that way of yourself. And before you allow yourself to fully express yourself in any way, you start suppressing yourself. You start suppressing those parts of yourself that other people tell you are bad, that other people tell you are ugly, that other people tell you are stupid. And therefore, you become somebody that you're not really not. Does that make sense? Somebody that you're not, pretty much. And then it goes on from there. Because if I really think back to my childhood, even before that, I had instances in my life, in my home life, where I was not allowed to do certain things. I witnessed abuse. Now, some witness abuse and then they grow up to be the abuser, whether to themselves or to others. Most of us end up doing it to ourselves. Some witness abuse as a child and then they grow up to pretty much remain in that cycle to where someone is abusing them and they're still living out their childhood and don't even fucking know it. That's the crazy part about this, is when you really start connecting your patterns, when you really start connecting these pain patterns, you really start being able to see how it all connects and how all of it is you. How you are still attracting, like that's the only thing that connects all of them to you, is you, right? That's the only thing that connects all of them, because that's all happening to you. And then you start to see how you are attracting all of these different patterns into your life, all of this different pain because of what you went through as a child. And or because of whatever happened to you as a child. Therefore, you don't express yourself in your natural way. Therefore, you don't dress or act or do things in your natural way because either A, you still have someone in your life that is doing these things to you, that is suppressing you and suppressing who you are and not letting you express yourself because you feel like you deserve that at this point. You attract that because you feel like you deserve that. You don't know how to live any differently than that. And here's why. People don't think about their childhood much when they become adults. Things will remind you of your childhood. There'll be certain smells, certain things you still like that you liked when you were a child. Little things like that come up here and there. But no one actually thinks about the kind of people that they have in their life based on when they were a child. No one actually stops to think, oh my God, I'm attracting the same marriage that my parents had. Or I'm attracting the same men my mom did. I'm attracting my dad all over again. And the story goes on. And for me, it played out a little bit differently. I saw how miserable my mom was. And instead of ever choosing to be that miserable, I always told myself I was going to be the exact opposite. Therefore, I would have been the one that was abusing or acting a fool. Pretty much, I never, physically abused anybody. But to keep from being abused, I would play mind games. I would do everything in my power to test a guy's loyalty, to test a guy's heart, and to pretty much break their ego down. So I knew that they were not going anywhere because of my childhood. Because of what I was pretty much grown up to be. Your childhood is so important, just like a tree cannot stand without its roots. A tree cannot be a tree without its roots, and those roots are so deep into the ground. Those roots are the beginning of the tree. They're the beginning of who the tree ends up becoming. And humans are pretty much the exact same. Whatever happened in our childhood is the basis, is the foundation of what we are trying to build our lives off of. So when the foundation's fucked up, how are you going to build your life off of that? If that makes any sense. If the foundation of your life, where your life started and what you've been trying to overcome, what you've been trying to build your whole life into and off of, if that's fucked up, and if you haven't truly went back and dealt with your own darkness and your own childhood, and if you've just been trying to live all high and mighty and positive and think positive and, kill the ego and all this stupid shit, then you're ignoring the problem. You're ignoring what you hate about your life. And that's not strength. That's not growth. There can be no growth without pain. Why do people ignore their childhood? Why did I ignore my own childhood for so long and block it out? I actually thought I had a pretty good childhood. I actually thought my childhood was perfect. And I had no idea why my life was so chaotic from a teenager and on, and why I just kept going into chaos after chaos after chaos. And it felt like I was literally in a hell loop for years of my fucking life. Most of my fucking life, I never had anything good. And if something good did happen to me, it didn't last for very long. I mean, it was just constant tidal waves of chaos in my life, always, all the time. I mean, one thing after another. And I've talked a little bit about it over on my first channel. Tawny Michelle told a lot of my addiction story over there, along with my life story. It's not finished, still debating about that. Anyway, so pretty much, if the roots are fucked up, the tree's fucked up, If something happens to the tree's roots, it's going to grow into the tree, and the tree is not going to be a healthy, beautiful tree. It's just not. Same with you. Same with me. Same with every person. You can only run from your pain for so long before you start attracting it into your life everywhere, and that's when you end up in similar situations as your childhood, or you end up in situations that point back to the same feeling that you felt when you were a child in some way, shape, or form. You may not end up with a abusive boyfriend, but you could end up with a boyfriend that's mentally abusive, that you're making excuses for because he doesn't hit you or he doesn't, control you. But at the same time, he isn't there to help build yourself up. And anytime you want to do anything, he's like, yeah, I don't think that's a really good idea. Like, someone that's still holding you back in some way, shape, or form is my point. You still end up with these people, these negative ass fucking people in your life that don't believe in you, that make you feel differently than you would normally and naturally feel if you would take care of these wounds, and these people would not be in your life. If you would take care of these wounds, I can guarantee you that you will stop attracting people that try to suppress you, because you won't let them get close to you to begin with, because you will know your worth. You will know what you're capable of. Because when you have to address wounds from your past, nobody can really help you with that. Yeah, you can go to a therapist, and most of them will just sit there and nod their heads at you while you talk. If you find a good therapist, they might try to help point things out to you, but only truly you can forgive yourself and your past. Only truly you can go down there in the basement of your human soul in the dark and dig out the shit and the hurt, the horrific fears of yours, and shine a light on it and heal it. And then, and only then, can you truly get over and move through. It's not that you necessarily get over it, it's that you push through it. And pushing through that pain, and really just, whether you do this while you're meditating, whether you do this through writing, however you do this, it's going to be a journey, and it's going to be a journey of strength and self-love and self-worth. Now, if you do decide to do this, and you decide to try to stay down there and try to, feel so sorry for yourself and not understand why all this is going on and, relive the past over and over again, then you get stuck in another loop. This is why it's important to go down there with a clear mind, with a clear goal. And you have to be a little bit clear already in the head. You have to start telling yourself that you don't want these things in your life anymore, that you don't want these kinds of people in your life anymore, that you don't want to feel this way about yourself in your life anymore. If you go down there with the intent of I just want it to stop and I still feel like I'm a piece of shit and I still feel like I deserve this, yeah, you're probably going to get stuck down there and it's going to get even worse. You do have to have a clearing out of the mind to go down there. Put it this way. You can't get to the answer or the solution of a math problem by not even looking at the math problem, by not even breaking down the numbers and getting to the answer. That's how you get to the answer. But by bypassing the first part, how are you going to get to the answer? You can't focus on just the positive and ignore the negative, because then you're just trying to skip all the painful and fearful parts of your life, and then therefore you don't grow. There's no growth and you stay stuck still. While your head is trying to stay positive, your body is here in the real world. What the fuck are you doing, bitch? Get back down here. We got shit to do. We got shit to go through. So do you see why it is so important to feel things and to experience life and experience the pain that we go through? It's just important to learn from it and not stay stuck in these patterns of pain and not stay stuck in this cycle of pain, these vicious cycles, because we tell ourselves that we aren't good enough. We tell ourselves that we're stupid because that's what people told us, or that's how people made us feel. And then we cross the line into believing it. Their impact on our lives from when we were younger is still there, making its mark. The best revenge you can get on your childhood is by forgiving those fuckers and forgiving yourself, because you were just a child and you didn't fucking know better. Your head was still developing. Your mind was still developing. And they made an imprint on it. They made an imprint on you when you were still growing. And then you've grown into exactly what they told you you shouldn't be. And now you censor yourself every fucking day. And you do things that you don't want to do. And you accept things that you shouldn't accept. And you don't do things that you really should do because you really want to, deep down in your heart, deep down in your soul. Your soul is pushing you to get over these pains, these imprints on your soul, these imprints on your trunks, the trunks of your tree. But first, you have to truly forgive, because the only way to fight out your past is by forgiveness, is by love. And you know I'm not all that love and light kind of bitch. I'm just not her. I see the balance in everything. Maybe it's just because I'm a Libra. So I see why the need for both are good. I'm not one more than the other. I'm both. I've accepted both about myself. No, I'm not fucking perfect. Yes, I still need to do work. And yes, I still need to forgive that sixth grader in high school that got bullied really bad for the way she danced. And that's stuck with me still. I still don't dance. So, that is my mission this week, to really forgive this little girl, or however long it takes. I've been doing a lot of thinking, like I said. And I think anybody who's listening to this should do the same. You should forgive that little girl or little boy inside of you that didn't know any better. That didn't fucking know any better. And some other unhappy asshole in their life, whether it was your parents, whether it was your siblings, whether it was your cousins, whether it was your family, whether it was your friends, came to you and imprinted on your fucking life. So now you are living out this asshole and what they put you through and the whole situation over and over and over, and can't seem to figure out why things aren't getting better for you in your life. You're trying to manifest. You're trying to grow. You're trying to be a good person. You're trying to think positive. You're making gratitude list. Well, like I said, if you don't do the soul work, if you don't do the shadow work behind growing spiritually and evolving spiritually, if you don't work on the trunks of the fucking tree, the tree can't continue to grow beautifully because it's contaminated at the trunks. There's something fucked up going on with the trunks. So that's where you need to start. If you can't remember anything, because when I first started on this journey years ago, I started with my childhood and thought I was going to write about how great it was. Like, I don't know why people keep telling me to go to my childhood. Like, why people keep telling me I have this bias towards men. Like, that I don't like men, or that I have some kind of hidden resentment against men. Like, I don't see that. Like, how are you saying that? How can you see that? And then I wrote about it. I wrote about my childhood. And I swear when I was writing, I wasn't really thinking about what I was writing, but I was still kind of like, yeah, my childhood was great. At least that's what I thought I was writing. And then when I went back and read it, I was like, oh, yeah. But see, I was brainwashed as a teenager at a different point in my life to think that after being an addict and being in rehabs and being in recovery programs, I was brainwashed to think that all these other different people, after hearing so many horrific childhood stories, I was like, yeah, my childhood was pretty fucking good. I can't compete with that, But it doesn't matter, because no, I wasn't raped as a young child. No, I didn't go through any, crazy fucking broken home type of shit. We had a really nice home. We were middle class, but there was still verbal and physical abuse. There was still alcohol. There was still other things in my life, in my childhood, there was still bullying and all of that stuff. So even if you think that your child, that there's nothing in your child, you had a great childhood, your parents were great, and this, that, and the other, there's something in there. If you are attracting the same kinds of people, same kinds of situations, or you just always seem to be involved in chaos in your life, like Game of Thrones. Chaos is a ladder. Yeah, it fucking is. Go back down the ladder and fix the fucking match. The match that started the fire on the fucking ladder. And put it out. Forgive it. And then you will start seeing things very, very clearly in your life right now. And you'll start seeing the patterns. You'll start seeing the things that you're attracting. You'll start seeing what needs to change. You'll start seeing what in you needs to change. It's not about the other people in your life right now. It's about you, because until you change you, you'll still keep attracting those types of people to teach you the lesson. You're attracting lessons right now because you missed a lesson when you were a childhood, which is okay. Your brain was not there yet. Like I said, your brain was still fucking evolving. So you didn't get to understand the lesson. So now you're attracting that lesson over and over and over again in different forms and different shapes and different sizes and different people and different situations. And now, you're getting, nothing happens by mistake. Nothing happens by coincidence. The universe is nudging you to learn the lesson so you can get the fuck out of this loop and go on to the next level of life, if that makes sense. So, just something to think about that I decided to do, that I wanted to talk about today, but I didn't want to film a video. I don't know where the fuck I'm going to even post this yet. So if you're listening to this, please let me know what you thought about it. I'd love to hear your feedback about it. I hope it starts a really healthy reflection for everybody listening to this. I hope it starts a really healthy conversation of the patterns of pain that we allow ourselves to go through, that we don't even realize. It's like an invisible pattern of pain, and we don't even realize we're going through it half the time. I know I didn't. I was shocked when I found my pattern of pain. So, I love you guys. We're almost to 16,000 on YouTube. What the fuck? And, yeah. Bye.